Hello! In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can add timed dialogue to your dialogue system in order to have dialogue that you have to choose quickly or else the game will choose for you. So before we begin, there are some things I have adjusted or added rather, namely the BP special device. This is the device the wizard has been talking to for the past 2 episodes. And the point of this is that you can only interact with it once the wizard has given you the assignment to do so. And when you do, the only thing that happens to it will be that this button here turns green. I didn't bother to animate it. Now what it does is it gets the player character, gets the player dialogue component, which is where we store the choice IDs. It checks whether it contains any of the branches, which means we have gained the assignment from the wizard. And then based on that, it either plays a sound that it cannot be activated, or it will play a sound that it can be activated, as well as setting the material to green and getting the wizard its dialogue component and setting a new conversation, as well as setting the talk index back to -1, which is resetting it back to the beginning. Now, one thing to note is that this is not a very good way to do it, to be honest, but I guess I'll leave that for the next tutorial, so we can actually set up some sort of questing system as well. So let's see, I also added the second conversation of the wizard. Now, you don't necessarily need to add this to a different conversation, but it, for me at least, is a lot more organized to keep these things as separate conversations. Otherwise, you may have overlapping conditions and that sort of thing, and it gets very messy if you have 200 of these rows, and then you have to set a new line index, and you're like, where was that again? So I prefer to keep this in different conversations. So if you have different conversations, remember to go into your BP wizard, click here in the AC dialog, and set the conversations to have the second conversation in there as well. And I think that about does it. So now, let's start by adding the new variables that we need. Inside of the structure for the dialogue, we're going to add 2 new variables. The first variable is the timer, maybe call this the branch timer. This will be a float, and the second one will be timer and choice ID. And this one will be a name. So this will be, if you didn't pick in time, then this will be what the game chooses for you. I'm going to also move these to be closer to the branch data pin, so that the pins will line up more neatly with all the branch things. So let's go ahead and save this. And let's go into the branch, the WBP branch, where we have these 2 dummy thingies. I'm going to add a progress bar. I will add this to the canvas panel and not to the vertical box, because we are clearing the children of the vertical box as the thing is created, as this widget is created, which means we would also clear the progress bar. So I'm going to call this just progress bar. I hate seeing the number there. And I'm going to set the % to 1, just so we don't have to do this when we create the widget. And I'm going to make it purple. There, because I wanted to. Then I'm going to anchor it to the bottom. I'm going to increase the size. Oh, just 5. And set the alignment so that it appears just underneath. I'm worried these might be too small. There. 15. There. Alright. This will be our progress bar. So let's go ahead and add the logic for the progress bar. So the first thing we're going to need is a bunch of variables. We are going to need the timer, the initial timer. These are both floats. And the timer expired choice ID, which is a name. So then for the timer variable, I'm going to say instance editable and expose on spawn, as well as for the timer expired choice ID, instance editable and expose on spawn. So now we compile this, we go into our AC dialog and go to the show choice. In here, we are going to refresh this node, so right click and click refresh nodes. Now this timer and timer expired choice ID will be linked up with the structure variables, which come from the data table. So this is all we have to do for the dialog components. The rest we are going to make inside of the widget. I'm going to select all of this and scooch it over just a little bit, so I can drag on and press S to add a sequence. So first it will set up the correct variables for these widgets, and then it's going to let's see, it's going to get the timer and set the initial timer to this timer variable. And I forgot one thing. Instead of this, I'm going to add a branch and check if the timer is greater than 0, because the default variable for this is 0. Obviously, if your timer is 0 seconds, then it's going to be instantly gone. Right, I forgot one more thing. We need to actually set the visibility based on this as well. So if it is false, we need to get the progress bar and say set visibility and set it to let's see, set it to collapsed. So then, in order to have a timer, we are going to say set timer by event. Going to put this up here so we can add the custom event right here. Custom event will be timed choice countdown. I'm going to check the looping, and for the time I'm going to say make literal float and call this 0.01. So that's going to do it very quickly, possibly more than once per frame, which is why we don't check max once per frame. But this smaller value will ensue a smoother transition between the two values without the need to lerp or animate your widget. So then every tick we are going to check whether or not the timer has reached the less equal 0. So if it has, that means we should end the timer, but first let's make some stuff for the timer itself. Let's set the timer to get timer and subtract this literal float. This is why we use the literal float, because if I had just hard-coded the time, then I would also need to hard-code this subtraction. If they are different, then the time for the timer itself and for the timer in here would not end up being the same values. So then this becomes the new timer. Then we are going to get the progress bar and say set %. And in the percentage, we are going to map range. So what will this range be? The value is our timer. In range A is 0, and range B is the initial timer, which is basically the maximum value. So let's say it was 5 seconds, and this is now at 2.5 seconds. Then that should end up into a percentage. So the outrange 1 is 0, outrange B is 1. So now if this is 2.5 seconds over the 5 seconds, this will make 50%. So this will in turn set the percentage. If, however, the percentage is, or if the timer, sorry, is below or equal to 0, that means it has expired. So we should invalidate the timer. Let's go to this timer by event, promote this to a variable, and call this th_countdown. I like to name my timer handles th_. It just better, it makes it a little easier for optimization. Also, if you need to search here, in case you hadn't made a category for it. So you could add category timer, and it'll appear in the timer category. So let's see, I need to get the timer, say clear and invalidate timer by handle. So this will stop the timer from counting down. And now I also need to relay choice. The choice being the timer expired ID. Now this isn't all we need, because now the timer is only ever being invalidated if it counts to 0. So instead of doing this here, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to just relay the choice. And inside of the relay choice, I'm going to place the... Oh, I did not. And then inside of the relay choice, I'm going to clear and invalidate the timer. I'm doing this before starting the next line, because if I don't, then since this timer is only 0.01 seconds, it might end up doing the start talking twice, because it's not maximum once per frame. And then we would skip lines much faster than you could even hear them. So now you can compile and save this. And now inside of your dialog, you will need to set whether the what the branch timer and choice ID is. So in my branch data, I have one option that says say nothing, which is this is wizard branch to answer A. So that will be my timer and choice ID, wizard branch to answer A. And the time should be 5 seconds. So the player will have 5 seconds to answer this, or they can pick an answer that will skip it. So let's try it out. Right now, I can't actually activate this yet, because I haven't started the quest yet, quote-unquote quest.
You must be my... You...
Yes, we know these.
Go behind, press the device. What part?
So now we activate the device. It's been activated, and now...
I see you've turned on the device, as requested. Oh? Did you expect a compliment? Praise? Honestly, you provincials never cease to amaze. This was not but a test of your ability to comprehend speech. In case you hadn't figured it out yet, you passed. Now, on to your next assignment. In truth, the device is useless.
Alright, it seems that it ends rather abruptly. Ah, I see what I did wrong. I subtracted the timer out of 0.01, so now it's going to do 0.01 minus 5, which is negative 4.99. So instead I should flip these two around. Now it is timer subtracted by the literal float. Let's try again.
You go press the device. I see. Oh, honest. This was not in case you hadn't figured it out. Now, on to your next assignment.
As you can see, this is going down. So now if I let it go down...
In truth, the device is useless until it is catalyzed with an orb of obstinacy.
So now let's try picking a line before the timer ends.
Go the device. I know, honest. This in case now. Yes, I was getting to that. Stop interrupting. In truth, the device is useless until it is catalyzed with an orb of obstinacy.
And there you go. Now you can choose to either interrupt the wizard and annoy him even more, or just wait around until he tells you what you need to know. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll do my best to help. Anyway, that'll be all from me for today, and good luck!